right, around a circle. And that pattern could change, right? And it allows you to isolate that feature into its own like place to edit that feature so that it's segregated from the concept of how big the circle is or whatever. But you're making it so that those two things can live as contributing to the whole, which is a disk with holes in it, rather than having this sketch with 100,000 things in it and a ton of relations that can easily break. There are situations where it's probably overkill to turn it into two sketches, but I don't think this is one of them. And the problem is that a lot of people don't understand how important it is and don't do it at all. And you'll find the Marble Machine, if you go in that Fusion file, you will find a ton of examples of multi-purpose sketches that are just riddled with like hundreds and hundreds of contours that you have to go in and select each one of them properly, or if you get it wrong, you'll screw up the whole model. And that's a no-brainer for me. Like if something has a whole bunch of holes in it, you locate the first hole, you do a whole feature, you pattern it, and then now you've got one sketch with a very simple thing in it and a couple of features that are easily editable on their own. And again, there are situations where if you're making a bookshelf, like you don't have to think about this stuff. Just make your bookshelf, have a bunch of contours and call it a day. But you're talking about a lot of interdependent mechanical things with a lot of different features that overlap. It just, I don't know. For me, this is actually a perfect example of how not to do.
But I thought I was being efficient and keeping my timeline like clean and making sure that if I wanted to change one thing, they like one feature would always depend on the other. And so like if I changed one diameter, I would see if like let's say if I wanted to change the number of spokes or the inner diameter hole kind of thing or something like that, that I would actually have the ability to edit all those things together.
Well, and you can first of all with global variables, but second with like just doing it in the proper order.
Right. All right. More to the point. What the hell is happening to me here? I'm trying to do I'm trying to make this slot patterned around this thing.
We can't see anything because you're not streaming anything.
Oh, I'm not streaming in Discord anymore. I'm back on YouTube.
Oh. Well, there's a crazy latency, right, in YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I won't see what you're doing.
All right, we're back on Discord. So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. But I cannot get it to center this where I want it.
Mm-hmm.
When I click on the center point.
So first of all, you definitely want to select your feature first. So what entity you want to pattern, you want to don't go to parameters because that is actually backwards. It should not be at the top.
So it defaults to there, to revolving it around the origin.
Yeah.
Right? Now if I want to change that, I delete the origin as the point of, and it doesn't do it. If I select that circle edge, it goes back to the.
Look below it. You think you are.
It doesn't do it because it has self-intersecting geometry.
I can barely hear you.
Rotated the bar.
I've turned up. Go ahead.
He was saying that it's intersecting geometry, but the other part.
No, you didn't rotate the feature. Like I learned it in uni. Like you make the feature and then you make a pattern out of the feature. And
yeah, exactly.
Not in the sketch.
Yes, you can do that.
All right.
But if you have intersecting geometry, I think it makes problems.
All right, you bastards! I'm going to do it your way.
Wait, I wasn't even. You have a good eye because I wasn't even watching. He was absolutely right. You were patterning a feature, not a sketch entity, which is interesting.
Oh, I was trying to pattern the slot. The sketch, yeah. So all right, we have this. We have the side plane. Now we're going to put a new sketch on that guy. We're going to convert.
Oh, so your heart was in the right place. I get it. You were going to pattern slot as a cut feature instead of the sketch extrude. I actually agree with that, and I appreciate you were actually following through with what I was saying. But you had already patterned the sketch feature, though.
I had already patterned one sketch feature. I was trying to pattern another sketch feature, and it worked the first time, and I don't know why it didn't work the second time. Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened there.
By the way, Mate, to his point, that's kind of what I meant for him. Like when he's talking about extruding all of those squares, it's for the same reason that you don't want to extrude a gear, by patterning the tooth all the way around and then extruding what's left as a contour. It's better to cut one tooth and pattern that all the way around. That way there's just less information to process. And so that's kind of the point I was trying to make.
No, for sure. Actually, and to be honest, that specific example, of course, that you were talking about earlier, I agree. I do think that anything that is patterned around a circle many, many times should probably just be a feature. That way, especially just from like how you can change it in the future. If you pattern a sketch object, then say you want to make it a triangle instead of a rectangle. Well, now you got to redo the whole thing. Whereas if you if you patterned an extrude, then you just have to change the extrude profile, and you're good.
Right.
You know what?
So
I can't get away from this because actually I'm trying to define. I'm drawing this based on the spoke, not the cut, right? So if I wanted to make a 5-spoke thing,
what are you exactly doing?
Just trying to make the spokes on the wheel.
Okay.
Right? And I was going to define it based on this slot entity, right? So that's one of the spokes, and I was going to pattern that around. I can't make a cut here and then pattern that cut. I would actually have to, draw the other part of the hole that I'm trying to cut, which is a little weird.
Oh, so that's how I would do it. You draw the cut out and then pattern that.
Yeah. It's just not the way I'm thinking, Equal slots. I love the equal slots constraint.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too.
All right, and this is going to be 360 divided by 5, which is 72. Features. Now, I couldn't do all the individual cuts that are going to be for the cross braces because there's a different number of those than there are of everything else. Roll.
Huh.
All right, so now you're going to have me. Where the hell is that now?
It's under linear pattern. You just do the down caret. Yeah.
Direction.
Yeah. Don't stop. Back up. Don't do the direction first. Pick the feature. Oh wait, no. You did. You got the feature picked. No, so never mind. You're good. Sorry. You want to do the feature first if it doesn't populate it, but you did. So don't worry about it.
72.
Wait.
What?
You want to go around 360 degrees, don't you?
Yeah.
So you leave that at 360, and then you just put the number of instances.
There we go.
There you go.
Yikes. I don't know, guys. That's harder. That's harder.
I mean, how is it?
I don't know. I just like doing everything in one sketch because then I only have to edit that one sketch. It just seems like. By the way, this whole feature, this flyout thing, I miss this in Fusion right now. Where you can automatically grab all of those fillets.
Well, so if you go to Fillet Expert, it's even more powerful. But I mean, this does work too.
It's not letting me do it.
Okay, you see how there's a fillet under the command. There's Fillet Expert. That should. I would say there should be a selection for all concave.
Hmm.
I think the problem is why it can't do 10 millimeters radii is because like you have that other one which would like probably self-intersect on the like on. Oh, it's difficult to describe what I think.
Oh, the fill was too big.
Like I think probably the thickness of the part is less than 10 millimeters, or like less than double the radii. So that's why it creates like self-intersecting geometry, which it can't calculate.
Yeah, one of those options when you select one of the corners should give you all concave.
I don't know why this is not working now.
Well,
it wasn't allowing me to select. There we go. Right feature, all 61, connected to start internal loops. That's really what I was looking for.
There you go. Boom. That's what I was trying to get you to do. Yeah, so it won't allow you to do 13. It's because your corner, you made some... Okay, so if you really want to know the real reason why this won't work, if you look at the corner on the inside by the hub,
yep,
you're going to see that you actually have two edges there. You don't have just one edge. So you can't make it so that it... Yeah.
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah, so you have to make it so that like your feature looks different than that before you start trying to fillet it. Which is another, so something like that.
Yeah. Am I still editing this part? No, I'm not. So again, this is a cool thing that I love about SolidWorks is that like in Fusion, you could probably do that edit and it would be like you'd get timeline instances that are in a different part. Like if you don't select, like this is my active part or something, you get you can do sketches in a different part in a different body, and they are not related. Like you could put a sketch for one part in a different part.
Right.
Let's do 12 or 15. That looks better. All right, now I'm going to do another sketch because you guys want me to do it this way. You bastards. And I'm going to... .1 millimeters. This is going to be plywood going across. And we'll do 20 millimeters there.
Is there a reason you have a construction line there? What is
just to keep it vertical, the center of it vertical to this thing. I'll draw a construction line up here and then do a center point rectangle up here.
Okay. I mean, you could just do the center point of the rectangle be vertical to the center point of the circle.
Yes, I could. But you know what? You made me make an entirely different sketch just for this feature. So it's not getting overly complicated now, is it? I'm going to do 24 of those.
See how easy that was?
Yeah, but look at my timeline, man. I could have had one sketch, okay, albeit a busy sketch, but I could have one sketch and one extrude. With all these patterns could have been hidden in that original sketch. I mean, I'm doing it this way because that's how you told me to do it. I'm not saying I like it.
I get it. The folklore of Fusion says that that's what you should do, but that just does not apply to real, modeling, especially in SolidWorks. That's just not how things are done. You want all of those things to be separately editable. And actually, the neat thing is, if you were to select that solid, right, it should be able to actually display all of the things about it. Like, for example, you can tell SolidWorks when you select a solid to display its dimensions, its like how many things there are in a pattern, etc. And that way you can just change it without even going in part. You just select it and then change the number that appears on the screen. It's kind of neat.
Alan, I'll be done at 2:30.
Okay, thanks.
Somebody to be shy, to be polite, decided he's standing right next to me, and he texted me so that he wouldn't interrupt my live stream. Thank you, Alan. Hey, Alan, as a punishment, come here.
Sure.
You have to be punished.
No problem.
All right, this is Alan Perlstein.
Hi, everyone.
Tell him what you do.
We are reinventing cocoa by growing it from cells. So we see cocoa is unsustainable.
There's slavery involved,
and there's a whole bunch of little kids growing about 60% of the world's cocoa. So we have a better way to grow it, better, healthier for you and the world. So love to share California cultured. Please reach out. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
That's my standard punishment for someone.
No problem. Anytime.
You got to do your elevator pitch. All right. So yeah, just how like Impossible Burgers has like created like burger in a test tube. They're doing chocolate in a test tube, which is actually good because it's not meat. It's plants that are growing it anyway. But yeah, a lot of the world's cocoa is made using slave child labor. So he's helping solve that. Those are the kind of people I spend most of my week with.
So his punishment was publicity?
Huh?
His punishment was publicity?
It's not that much of a punishment. I know, blue lines. Okay. I need to do this cut extrude.
Yeah, I would trim the hell out of that sketch personally.
I'm this close to cutting you off, David. Just this close. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this part to not. Oh, I'm gonna this here. I'm gonna cut this too.
I would too cut the head out of that. Like at uni, we learned like yes, you have that cut feature, and like like that's how I learned to cut in the context of learning. Like you create all of these solids, and then you can more easily see like what you could do if you would like try to manufacture that part. Like you would say, like I have that piece, like I bring it to that geometry, then I cut something here, and so like in that way it's easier like to wrap a head around, like compared to you have one big sketch which tells you everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, man. Thank you for the input. I agree. And that's kind of.
I don't, but thank you for the input anyway. I like my one sketch parts, man.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. All right. So again, I'm doing it your way, you bastards. All right. That said, all of this was built up. So now I have in this file, because I want to see what it's like to put again, this exercise is for the sake of playing with the bookmarks and the labeling conventions and making it right. So I'm going to hit File, Save with Options, and hopefully I'll be able to solve multiple parts across multiple assemblies, all with different bookmarks, and it's not going to be a pain in the butt. We don't know that it's not going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, what Nicholas is saying in the chat. I don't know. I like doing it in the slots.
In YouTube?
What? Yeah, he's saying it's if you modify the number of slots, it's harder if you only have one sketch. I don't think it's.
I don't
hard.
even
You
see.
just go into the sketch and you edit the pattern in that sketch.
But, yeah, I don't even see a like a chat in YouTube. There's no.
But you need to find the pattern in the sketch, and if you make your sketch needlessly complicated, it is hard to find it. Like,
Exactly.
that's the point probably that he tries to make. Like, of course I can find everything, but do I really take shorter time if I like try to find it, or just I know where it is? Like, if you look at the part and you don't know it, like, you have to like look at the sketch to try to see like where's the pattern if you do it all in one sketch.
I mean, so that is absolutely a good enough reason, right, to do features in patterns outside of a single sketch. I agree. But it seems like the real problem here is the culture around the Fusion project, and
Yeah.
Tim is showing it here, is about trying to cram as much shit in one sketch as possible as the objective, right?
Right.
And
were we doing that to keep the feature tree compact and make it editable and make it navigable, or were we doing it that way because of the weirdness of Fusion and the way it stacks stuff and the time and because the timeline is sometimes not that reliable?
Again, there's a lot of folklore around Fusion 360 and how it works. And it is unfortunately driven a lot of very poor decision making to try to work around those misunderstandings about how Fusion works. And a single sketch with a feature and then another sketch with a cut and then a pattern is as low or lower of a processor load than having one sketch with 800 sketch profiles that you have to individually click to get the right extrude. It's sort of like it's just you're trying to fix something that wasn't a problem to begin with,
right? Well,
by making it harder.
Yeah, I mean, I do know, like, if you're going to go back and change like the rectangle that I just patterned around to a circle, you would really be deleting the pattern and then remaking it, rather than just editing one instance of it. I do get that, but
so if you're going to,
if I have to disabuse myself of that notion, then we do that, right? But you do admit that for the Fusion project, we've been telling people to put as much information into one sketch as possible.
I know that was a problem from the absolute beginning. It should have never been a part of the CAD standards.
You're saying not even for Fusion?
No.
Oh.
No. It's even worse for Fusion, actually. If you look at the base frame, I don't know what it looks like now, but the one that I did, there's a single sketch for each of the little weld-on bits, and the sketch is on one of the origin planes, and the extrude or whatever it was done, using an offset in the right place, and that way, if I need to edit the whatever, I know exactly where it is in which sketch. All of the extrude information and where it is right there, editable, etc. And the problem is that I noticed once I left, people were like putting planes in wacky places to try to sketch on it. Yep. And then once they put a plane in that place, then they would do this million contour sketch that included a panacea of sketch contours for 100 different bodies. And then they think they're cleaning up the timeline by having just one sketch and a plane, but really you're making the process of like harder on yourself, first of all, because the reasons that you do this in the first place is because you want your to be a thing, first of all. But second, that feature should only have to extrude a sketch. If you have to go in and say, okay, I want this contour, I want that contour, I don't want this contour, then you've totally missed the point of the extrude feature to begin with.
Right.
Because if you have this sketch profile with like 50 holes in it, you're like, okay, well, I don't want this hole, I do want that hole. Again, what you really want to do is extrude your primitive feet, like saw, a circle, a square, whatever it is. You extrude that, Then you extrude a location, then you go in and say, okay, well, I want, how many 5mm holes are there? There's like, 50 of them, and they're all in weird places. Okay, so you can take, and in that sketch, or maybe a second sketch, you can put points where those holes are located, and then you can use the hole feature, right? And now you've got a primitive extrude with a hole feature. And if those holes are in a circular pattern or a square pattern or whatever, now you can go in and say, okay, well, the first one, the seed, is going to be at a location I've determined. I know what the pattern is. So that sketch, all it needs is a location for the first hole. And then you just pop a hole there, and then you just pattern the hole. And now you've got 3 features and maybe 1 or 2 sketches.
Right.
But what you have is a recordable set of instructions to the computer, and frankly, even more so to the next person that has to work on it, because they know your design intent, right?
Right.
And that's an even bigger deal, because now you've got a thing that says, okay, well, it's a circle, it has a bunch of slots, and those slots are patterned in such a way, and it's just instantly something you can tell by looking at the feature tree or the timeline. And so having one sketch with 1,000 sketch contours that you then have to spend half an hour selecting all the contours is just, it's just bad practice.
Right.
It's not how the real world would work.
I am seeing in the comment here. So Amos, who's do you know who Amos is?
Of course I do. Yeah. In fact, I just.
So he says best practice is simple sketches, and I trust him. So I'm just going to go there. Not to say I don't trust you, David. I'm just saying he does this for a living. That's kind of, I don't know. Anyway, all right.
I do have a counterpoint, and this will be an interesting example, David, because I think that one of the best examples as to why you might want to put them all in one sketch is what you did. Ben did the triggers.
Okay.
I'm actually curious to know, when you made that in SolidWorks, how did you make it? It wasn't just one sketch, right?
It was, well, yeah, but the thing is, that thing is a single piece of steel, right? With, what is it, like 12 holes in it?
Yeah.
But all those holes are, first of all, unique. They're not patterned. That's not a patterned sketch. They depend on the, what do you call it? They not only contribute to the overall shape of the thing, but they also depend on the shape of the thing. So they're not features in the same way that spokes of a wheel or slots patterned around a circle are. Like, I think I get what you're trying to get at. And in a way, you're counterpointing using my own. But on the other hand,
it's the best example that I could think of, honestly.
Yeah, I get it. The thing is, none of those holes are patterned, and they're all unique. So it doesn't really apply to that particular example, unfortunately.
Right. Well, okay, so that brings me to, I guess, the next.
By the way, Amos is in the Discord room. If you have opinions, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up, man. We can use your expertise. You don't have to. If you're currently in a sawmill and you can't speak without noise, I understand. Invitation.
Yep. One of the things that I noticed with working on, the MMX is that, nothing. So there are plenty of things that are repeated or should be revolved and all of that. And again, I agree with you there. There's also a million things that aren't. And in those cases, I think it's better to put them all in one sketch. And there are so many examples of parts on the MMX where they are all in one sketch, and the sketch is better for it, even though they are holes. Because so many things on the MMX aren't patterns and shouldn't be.
Uh-huh. Can you give me an example?
So I would just say the entirety of the side frame. Yeah, I can't imagine anything that should be repeated on that, and it's got a ton of holes and different things in that. But nothing there should be. You could put everything in one sketch, which is what Andre did, and it works really well.
Wait, the entirety of the side frame. What do you mean?
Right, I'm not going insane here. Yeah, the side frame for
Hey.
the
Let me interrupt for a second because I want to pull up that sketch next. I just want to just to conclude this part because we're gonna open up the MMX kind of working skeleton that we have going on right here. But I'm just showing that. So I have created those bookmarks. I was able to go in and select the ones. I had to hit this bookmarks button, 4 different times.
Yeah.
But I was thinking you could have multiple bookmarks assigned to one part, and maybe you can't do that through this interface. But basically I was able to put everything that's in this assembly. I would be able to put the assembly and all the parts that are in that subassembly, assign that bookmark. And this is the second time. I just went and made the sound module while we were chatting, and these ones didn't change, so it's not going to update them, but it's not like it overwrote them. So we have an easy way to apply all those bookmarks to it.
Cool.
So I now have 3 subassemblies. Well, I made 4 subassemblies, but I've made 3 different parts. We're editing everything together. As long as you drill down in this side thing and edit your parts, I think you don't break it. So I'm doing a very similar thing in a Fusion project right now, and it's a pain in the butt because in Fusion you can only edit in place 1 tier down. So if you have subassemblies, you have to open up the subassembly and then edit in place, or go and somewhere else and then update your. It's a pain when you have subassemblies to edit in Fusion. It's a real pain in the butt.
So back to what Mate was saying.
you can just say Matt. It'll be better.
Matt.
Mate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually just Mate. So
Mate.
I've never.
Mate.
Yep.
Is it like it's not Matthew?
It is based on the tragic story of how I accidentally misspelled my name when getting it engraved on a ring because I was too tired.
Got it.
And when I went in to be like, "Hey, you spelled my name wrong," they were like, "No, that's what you put in the form." So now I keep.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
I have a good friend who misspelled or like in my fraternity, and he didn't have the N fully closed when he wrote it down, so it was like, and they wrote his name is Logan, so instead of Logan, it was Logar, and it was like ended up like on our chapter composite sketch like as Logar, and then he's been Logar ever since, and that was like 20 years ago.
So it's exactly that for me.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome.
All right,
okay, well, so Matt, I actually disagree about the side frames. I think the side frames, there's a reason that the skeleton has the outline of them, and then you should use a combination of offsets and trimming so that there's a single sketch profile for each one of those. I actually think that the side frames is a good example of bad modeling.
Really? Wow, that's so we're just in direct, I guess, not opposition. We're just directly disagreeing then. I mean, I think that was a good example of why it's valuable, because you can see everything in one view, and as at least for me, I'm a very visual person. Like I can navigate that super easily and click on what I would want to change it, hit enter, call it a day. If I think that if you look at the entire skeleton as a whole, it's kind of what I would see as the danger of making a whole bunch of sketches where you go, okay, so I need this specific sketch to change. Say I don't know what it's called because I didn't make it. Now I've got to look through, say it's a complicated part, and I've got 40 sketches, and they all have different names, and I can't see them all at once. So now I've got to click through them all and go, all right, which one? There it is. Which I think is much more of a pain than having one sketch with all of them and just going, there's the one I want to change. It's right there in front of me.
Yeah, hold on. I think somebody just knocked on my door. Just a second.
So one thing to consider is that if you have instant 3D turned on and you have smaller sketches for each feature.
Sorry, I thought somebody knocked on my door.
And those sketches will highlight individually instead of one big massive sketch.
Yeah. Hey, Amos, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks.
My first
I'm,
time jumping in.
Great.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to
every time, my friend.
I'm trying to impress upon these gentlemen, and they're fighting back. So.
Hey, well,
Well,
here's the
it's
cool
really
thing,
about
right?
design intent.
So, for example, Tim is trying to put a idler pulley on the tension side. So that is the wrong side to put the pulley on.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? That's just what it defaulted to. Can I edit the belt? I can.
Well, you'll have to move that pulley so it's like on the other, like the center line, and then it should pick it up properly. So I think you probably just have to get out of the belt or delete the belt. Yeah, you just have to delete the belt because it's just automatically going to do that.
Got it.
In fact, I don't think you had to make that extreme, but wait, what happened to your idler pulley? Where'd it go?
I don't know.
I think it's on the bottom right now.
Yeah, it's way over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It moved.
Oh,
Move back
because
to
like,
where it
yeah.
was when you started.
That's good. We're good.
yeah.
How do you know that's the drive side? Oh, because it is. You just knew that.
Tim, I've been staring at this machine in SolidWorks for probably more time than I was in the Army.
Second only to Martin, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So you actually want to go back and reverse things because it's on the wrong side.
Oh, reverse that one pulley.
Yeah, because you want it pushing from the outside of the belt, not from the inside, right? So you just have to reverse that pulley.
Well, but you have more design options in this way.
Do you?
I don't know. Hey, look, this doesn't work in physics.
Yeah, because you had it out of.
Yeah,
It's correct now though.
Yeah.
You had it in this extreme position off into space, which is why it wrapped the belt around itself. But now it's back in the right position.
So there's going to be some sort of thing based on the length of belt that's available. We're going to be able to say there's some distance here, and then we will change this belt. Once we know what belt we want, we'll have it driving, and we'll give it a distance, right?
Yeah. So somewhere along the line, you're where the pivot is for the arm that's going to hold that idler, and you'll want to constrain the idler block itself on an arc.
Right.
It has a center point where you know where that pivot's going to be. Right now, you can't fully define it unless you tell it, unless you give it like a polar distance from one of the other pulleys or something.
So let's actually back up, because I know there's people here that weren't here when we were talking about this last week, which is that we were trying to define the offset of basically I'll back up even further. We were trying to make it so that we're trying to make the most logical parametric layout for the machine completely, right? And we were trying to figure out what this distance is between vertical offset between the center of the programming wheel and the drive shaft. And David had wanted to do it based on the length of pulleys that are available. And my idea was that if we have a tensioner pulley, then we have more design flexibility. And I just thought it was weird that we would have such a major location for this machine driven off of the lengths of belts that are available. I didn't like that. So what we ended up doing was driving this constraint around actually a clearance for the teeth going over the top of the frame. So this origin here, we've decided the origin from the machine is the center point of the top of the base frame. So that's kind of like our first locus, and then and we're kind of dimensioning everything from there. Is that safe to say? Anyway.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think that is.
I was failing to. I didn't realize you had to have each of the different elements of the pulley be different blocks. I put them into one block, and we weren't getting the pulley function to work last week, and that's kind of where we ended up. So now we have this, and we can figure out some other way to constrain where this pulley is. We'll have to kind of get there from something. But while we're doing this, let's get I have all of these. These are the global variables I've put in. David sent me the equations that he's been using. And because it's SolidWorks and it's awesome, we can, sorry, this is not on, we can select what we want. I can take all of his parameters and import them all into this thing. Some of them are going to be broken, which is fine. We're not going to clean this up on this stream. Okay.
They're not actually broken in real life because they hadn't been. If you notice, they're fine now.
Oh, are they?
Equations would show red if it wasn't going to work.
Oh.
Boom. See, they're good.
Okay, good. Sweet. I was about to go into our whatchamacallit planner and make a let's see, where is project management? Project planning. Come on, show up project plan. I was going to make you a ticket to my projects. Come on. I thought we had already done this. No projects found.
I've never used project planning.
Oh, we only have the music box one. All right, I'm not going to drag everybody through that. So this is a role that we had to actually get SolidWorks to add on to us because at first we didn't have it. But we can. Oh man, I'm getting in too deep. Back out, back away, run away, run away. Sorry. So I have a meeting in 15 minutes. So let's make a couple more decisions based on for this sketch. So David, I'd asked you last week, what are the next things we're trying to define here?
On this sketch?
Yeah.
So if we were recreating the original or the existing MMX, we'd want to put the flywheel in there and also the belt that controls the demag.
Okay. And there's a belt. There's a belt on the flywheel as well, right?
Yes, there is, and you're going to have to make a couple of super blocks that have, because remember that crank is going to actuate not only the belt that goes to the sun gear, but also to the flywheel.
So the demag wheel is driven off of this one up here?
Yeah.
Would you not include the motor as well and the motor pulley?
Oh yeah, so I didn't even think about that, but yeah, on top of that, add on the motor pulley. That's another one.
Well, actually, this one's a little harder, but there's also the vibraphone and vibraphone pulley, but those aren't in this plane. They're slick.
Yeah, so those are different though because they don't figure into what this sketch is. Just because it's a belt doesn't necessarily mean it belongs here. So that belt doesn't control the position of the vibraphone. It just sort of connects them in a way, right? But it's flexible. It's actually not planar. You know, both of the things aren't together. It requires a circular belt. So it doesn't control anything. So because it doesn't control anything, it doesn't belong here. This layout sketch is specifically to locate things later on in dependent entities. So in terms of the flywheel, that counts. You know, the demag, that counts. The frame, that counts. But I think the frame can come later.
Yeah. All right. So
how
are we going to constrain the center lines of each of these driven things?
What do you mean?
Well, you have a bunch of equations here. You have a bunch of parameters. So I don't know if any of those apply to what we're talking about here.
Okay, so you want to locate those things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so which one do you want to do first?
Let's do the flywheel.
Okay, so the flywheel, if you look at So the equations that are FLW are the flywheel ones. So that's FLW. I believe it's
diameter.
No. Are you doing is that the flywheel itself?
Yeah.
Okay, so then that is the diameter. Yes. Okay.
All right. So we have P1, P diameter, P2. Oh, pulley 1,
So
pulley
those are-
2. Oh, your
Yeah, those are-
abbreviations are understandable, David.
Thank you. Pitch diameter is what I use for P di. So.
Oh, okay.
Of course, you could put anything else. In fact, PD is probably.
Oh, so there's actually two circles here.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying mega blocks. Like, it doesn't matter. You could just make them concentric, but if you want to have traction constraints or relations, then they need to be multiple blocks, but they don't have to be for the purposes of what we're doing here.
So is pulley 1 the driver and pulley 2 is the driven?
In this case, it is, but it will always be the bigger one. Whichever side it's on, it doesn't matter. It has to be.
So on this side, is it the bigger one?
Work. It is, yeah.
Are you sure that's the right one?
Yeah, the flywheel wheel is significantly larger than the take-up wheel, or the second pulley, by a lot, actually.
Okay.
And that's straight out of Fusion. It's 226.
Okay. So then this is equal to flywheel pitch 2 diameter. I guess that makes sense. It gives you a mechanical advantage over it.
Yeah.
So we have that. All right. So let's see. Now, what did you mean by mega block, David?
Well, that's just a name I came up with. But so you can make a block. Thanks. You can make a block out of blocks.
Better than Lego.
Yeah. So, okay, so now you've got 2 blocks, right?
I only have one for that one.
Oh, right.
Is a block just like a new origin?
Blocks don't have origins. They are sort of like it's hard to define exactly. They don't really in Fusion, but blocks are sketch entities. Wow, what are you doing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
I have no idea why I did that.
Okay. Anyway, what was I getting at? Okay, so they don't have origins to themselves. They exist in a sketch, but they're sort of like alongside a sketch, because if you notice, if you look at the sketch, they're listed underneath it. And so they can be separately editable. They can be saved separate from the sketch. They can be brought up again and used somewhere else. But another thing is they are required for certain like functions, like the belt feature requires blocks. So you have to use blocks for that. But I think for me, for a layout sketch, they're important because if you name them, for example, once you're done with it, you've got a list of all the things you can even add to it. Instead of block 1-1, you could say, 16 T10 belt, 1800 millimeters, pulley 1, and now you know exactly what it is in the sketch instead of guesswork. So you can also tell someone to edit it or bring it up or whatever. And I think for layout sketches, blocks make a lot of sense. It's hard to describe. They can't have their own locations. They can't have their own sketch relations. It's weird. They exist alongside sketch entities, but they are like slightly different.
It's like a group.
Yeah.
Other programs call them groups, like Adobe products. That would be like a group of things.
Yep.
But in SolidWorks, not very many people use them. and the main use is what you're doing here with like the belt features. But most people don't do a lot of 2D work in SolidWorks. They almost go right to 3D, and so instead of having a block that's got pulleys, you just be throwing the pulleys in there and using other ways to figure out the same thing. But it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah. So we're doing a layout at the top level.
Okay.
So it's going to position everything, and then all the subsequent will
yeah, that would work.
fall in. Mm-hmm. So that's the only reason. This sketch is going to look almost identical. Done. It's going to look almost like this is going to be it. There's going to be a few other things in it.
All right. So, on this belt here, we need to start wrapping it up. So on this belt here, I gave it a driving dimension, 2,500 millimeters, because this flywheel just gets tensioned by moving left and right in a slot, right? So
no, not at all. That's sort of, sure? But it's tensioned with an idler.
It is. Damn it.
Yeah.
Where's the idler?
It's probably that thing on the bottom left.
No, well, this is the motor drive pulley. I just. All right, we'll put that in, but I'm actually gonna delete that sketch now because it's now wrong.
So it's also got a vertical constraint to the mod, or what do you call it, the compound gear.
Oh, really? So it's vertical to this?
Yes.
The flywheel is.
Yep. And it's, I believe, there is an offset, by the way, in equations from the origin for its height as well. Yeah, so it's flywheel Y offset. It's right above, like 4 or 5 above where your mouse is now. Yeah.
Okay, and that's from the top of the frame?
Yeah, I called it a Y offset, but yeah, it's from the origin, which happens to also be from the frame.
Right. Sorry.
You don't have to put in the quotes if you're calling up global variable.
I wasn't finding it. Oh,
it's FLW, not FWL.
Okay. All right. Well, then, so there's an idler in there. So, okay, that's fine. Now, how about the motor? Well, we haven't constrained the motor at all, have we?
No, in fact, I've been looking at
that's not going to be in your equations.
Yeah, so I actually didn't include the motor for a lot of reasons in mine because, first of all, the motor was an add-on after the fact. The motor itself does not locate any other features. It just is a motor tacked on the side.
Right.
So I don't think it really deserves to be in this upper level sketch. It's not a thing that drives other things.
Right.
So, but like for example, the DMAG pulley definitely does because it locates the DMAG.
Right.
So,
all right. Well,
that should probably.
Let's do that. And then while I'm doing that, what's going to be next on this? I'm going to end the stream in about 5 minutes. What would be the...
Well, you are definitely missing some stuff, but really, yeah. So this sketch is actually almost complete. There shouldn't really be much more in than, tidying it up and making sure everything's right.
Well, we have the registrators, right? That we have the registrator pivots. And that, like, what are the other top level?
Yeah, so that's going to be that'll be a second sketch, because this one is specifically to block out all of the moving parts, right? The gear train.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put all of that stuff in another.
Oh, okay.
Another sketch.
So you could almost call this a gear train layout.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
Okay. That's okay. I didn't think that's what we were doing, but that's fine. Why? you saw that I actually selected these correct, right?
So it looks like it wants to select a different block for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Are you selecting block 7 and block 8?
I just stopped it. Let me try it again. I can't select it from the tree here, so selecting that one and this one.
Okay. So it looks like you made some weird constraints.
Do you have more than one instance of the same block?
No, I made a unique block for each one.
Okay.
So can you go back into the sketch itself, like get out of the belt chain?
Yep.
And what are those coincident constraints in the middle? That's what's scaring me. I think it's... So this is why I generally use concentric constraints for circles, because the problem is that when you do coincident constraints with circles, like you end up with weird issues like what we're doing with right now, where you have no idea why it's doing this thing with this other thing, when these things really shouldn't even be. I mean, they are actually, and if I would be doing it a little differently than this, but either way, they're not really coincident so much as they are concentric to each other.
Right.
The other thing you might consider is making this belt off to the side somewhere.
Well, that
And
was
then-
the next step.
and
After
then
he
dragging-
took away the...
Yeah.
Yeah, after
So
he took away
constrain
those
the
coincident...
locations at the end.
Exactly.
Move the pulleys out away from the geometry. Get the belt to work the way you want it to, and then reconstrain.
All right, let's try that.
What the hell?
Fascinating.
Yeah. Amy, should I make a ticket?
Yeah.
Can it be that?
So
you
are there
want to
multiple
exit
copies
the
of-
sketch?
The blocks? No, right?
No.
What happens if you accept? Just do okay. What does it do?
Oh, let's try that. Yeah, it does it right there. And the other weird thing is that when
Don't you need to exit? the
I ended up
sketch
deleting my
first?
other set of pulleys
Hmm.
when I did all that too. So I went
We've got another person's giving us some comments. What can you repeat yourself?
That you need to exit the sketch maybe before you do it, or like in which sketch are you? Like, are you in the sketch of the block,
Yeah.
or are you in the sketch of the sketch? I
we're-
don't know. Maybe.
We're in the main sketch right now.
Yeah.
He's not in the.
Okay.
He doesn't have the block open.
Okay.
Tim, you need to go.
I do my 230s here. Cool. So guys, thanks for chilling with us today. Dave, let's talk offline about like what next because I didn't realize we're going to be doing a drive sketch. So let's make sure that we're doing this architecture right if we're going to have other ones at the top level. So I'm going to X out of here. We now have this. I'm going to have to fix this, but we're still basically here, right? We have one sketch in the root of the assembly folder, and we're going to start building. This is the root folder for the entire machine. So we'll continue making our reference geometry for this, and then start actually building a machine in that. So, all right, that's it.
Cool.
All right, thanks guys for hanging out, and chat with you next week. Hopefully, we'll have Sean O'Neill on next week, and Amos, you can show up too.
Awesome.
All right. And,
I
and
will
David,
try.
you can come
Yes.
too if you like, as long as you don't disagree with me.
Wait, I can come where?
To the stream, my friend, to the stream. All right, guys.
Come on mute.
All right.